there are a lot of words that people have been using for so long without knowing what they mean. So when they use the word, it activates something screwy in them. So we can use the word faith, but first we have to tell you what it really is. So, for example, let's say that for whatever reason you're outside the vortex and you're not living something that you want. Something's going on that you don't want, or something's missing that you do want. So you've launched rockets of desire, and it's over here brewing in your vortex of creation. In other words, it is already done, really. Because when you ask, it's not only given, it's done. So your work then is to just catch up with it. But it's hard to believe something that you have no evidence for. It's hard to think thoughts you haven't thought, or to believe things that you have evidence to the contrary. In other words, people don't realize that when they believe in something, let's say they believe in cancer because they know a lot of people who have it, or they have heard the statistics. Well, all that means is that someone has held their vibration in a place that disallowed wellness, and they did it long enough that they have evidence of it. In other words, in the beginning, Esther would say, as if it should give her a free pass to focus on something negative, Abraham, but it's true. And we would say, we would use a different criteria than whether it's true or not. We would use the criteria, how does it feel? Does it feel good? And today we would use the criteria, can I be in the vortex and think about it at the same time? So where faith comes into this conversation is you might want more money, and you might have no conscious way of understanding how it's going to come to you, but you could have faith in law of attraction. You could know about law of attraction. You could know about the vortex. You could believe that you are source energy while you're here in this physical body. You could know that your emotions tell you that you are splitting your energy on this subject. You could have such knowledge of the laws of the universe and true faith in who you really are that even though you currently don't have any money, you would still feel the deliciousness of faith. Faith, in its purest form, is the absence of resistance, even when there's no physical evidence present. It's a knowing that the evidence defies. That's what faith is. But it's the physical manifested evidence that defies it. The real evidence is the way you feel. The real evidence is the emotional alignment, you see. Faith is having a handle on your thoughts and a handle on your emotions, and understanding that you can be in the vortex regardless of what is. Think about it. When people use the word faith, isn't that what they mean? It hasn't happened yet, but I have faith that it will. But you can really shore your faith up, because a lot of people use the word, I have faith that it will happen, just like I have had faith that will happen for the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And after a while, that faith wears thin. In other words, you shouldn't need a lot of faith if you are understanding who you are and coming into the vortex, because when you get into the vortex, you don't need faith, you've got manifested evidence. You see, you only really need faith if you hold yourself apart from what you want. Look at it this way. So here's this vortex swirling, and all cooperative components have already been assembled. And let's say you're over here feeling hopeful. Well, if you're feeling hopeful, as faith would cause you to feel, you're close enough to this vortex that every now and again it's sweeping you in and showing you something that's making you even more knowing or believing, you see. If you're over here in fear, even though the vortex is spinning, you're far enough vibrationally from it that you're not getting drawn in. So if you're standing over here in the evidence of the absence of something that you want, but you know about the laws of the universe, you know that the larger part of you exists, we want to teach you faith in the laws and faith in who you really are. And then, when you can get yourself in the vortex anytime you want, being outside the vortex isn't so unpleasant. Esther will say, I'm having a step one moment. In other words, she doesn't feel guilty anymore when she's outside the vortex because she knows that she signed on to be outside the vortex sometimes. She sometimes gets irritated with herself that she hangs around out there longer than she needs to. But in that case, she says, I'm just making really sure that I've got a lot of good stuff over here. Or she'll say, let's talk about this. Let's get clarity. So when you know that you can't focus on things outside the vortex without feeling bad, but you do anyway, at least you know. In other words, when you have negative emotion and you know what it means, it's easy to have faith in the process. The only time it's hard to have faith is if you don't have any idea whatsoever why things happen the way they do. There are so many people who don't know about law of attraction, who don't know that the larger part of them still exists while they're here in this physical body, who don't realize that they're being called. There are so many people that have such a screwy basis that they are standing on that they don't have the basis for faith. Let's start at another place. When you know that you are source energy and that part of you has come forth into this physical body, and that here you have come to explore contrast, and that in doing so you will launch rockets of desire, and in doing so you will expand. When you know that that expansion has taken place and that positive emotion means you're keeping up with it and negative emotion means you aren't keeping up with it, now you have working knowledge of the universe and faith in the laws of the universe, and under those conditions you're steady. But if you don't know what emotions mean, if you don't realize that you are the creator of your own reality, if you don't know that the thoughts you think activate vibrations, if you don't get it, that you get what you think about whether you want it or not, then there are a lot of people out there saying words of faith, but they're not offering the vibration. That's why someone somewhere said faith without works is dead. And what that means is you can use the word all day, every day. I have faith, I have faith, I have faith. I don't have enough money. I have faith. I don't have enough money. I have faith. I'm sick. I don't have enough money. I'm sick. I have faith. I don't have enough money. I'm sick. Nobody likes me. I have faith. I don't have. If you keep active within you all the stuff that is keeping you from being who you really are, it doesn't matter how many words of faith you offer. You must find the vibration of it, you see. And so let us just say that faith, in the purest sense of the word, feels good. It feels like knowing. In other words, it's like you see a child fall down learning to walk. You don't say, get up, you little dummy. And you're in the vortex relative to that. You know that they're going to find their balance and they're going to learn to walk. You have faith. You have knowing that they're going to be just fine, you say. We'll give you an example with Esther. Esther's been listening to us for a long time, and she knows how to focus her mind. And she knows the benefit of focus, and she knows the detriment of lazy thought, and she understands it all. But we offered some encouragement. We encouraged a sort of daily ritual of basking before bed, appreciating when you wake up, doing some focus wheels, doing your list of positive aspects, and then rampaging. And Esther, something about hearing it that day made her decide that she was going to apply herself more deliberately. And so for about 40 days, she followed that process, and she got feeling better and better and better. And from being consistently in the vortex, she got higher and happier and higher and happier and higher and happier, and she reached a new understanding. She wants to be in the vortex because of how it feels, not because of what else it will give her. Yes, it will give her fortune. It will give her answers to every question. It will give her more groundbreaking books. It will give her incredible relationships with those like you. Everything that she wants will be provided by being in the vortex, but she wants to be in the vortex because walking around the loop inside the vortex is infinitely more satisfying than walking around the loop not inside the vortex. Every conversation from inside the vortex is meaningful and fun, while conversations from outside the vortex are annoying and too long. In other words, life from inside the vortex just feels good. So that was a definitive switch for Esther. She moved after that 40 days of feeling the consistency of the vortex from thinking and feeling and thinking and feeling to reaching for the feeling first. Instead of, I'm going to think more positive thoughts, she started saying things like, I love this feeling of clarity. I love this feeling of fun. I love this feeling of interest. I love how this feels. I love how this feels. She began talking in terms of how things feel instead of how things look, or how they seem, or how they sound. It's how it feels. Do you feel this music, she would say? Do you feel this music? Not, do you hear this music? Do you feel this? Do you feel that? Did you feel how that music moved you? Do you hear that clarinet? Do you hear it, but do you feel it? Did you feel what it felt like to talk to that person? Did you feel how sweet that dog is? Do you feel this world? Do you feel? It's how you feel. It's the being who I am. It's having the experience of what's out there from in here, where who I really am is feeling. You have these physical senses that serve you really well. But when you let the vibration of who you are radiate through those physical senses, that's feeling, you see. That's why emotion is the business of life. Did you feel it? When you get into the vortex for the joy of being in there, rather than because you know that when you get in there, something else that you want will happen, then you take away the resistance factor. In other words, if you're outside the vortex without something you want, like money or a relationship or whatever, so you say, I'm going to do the processes and I'm going to get in the vortex so I can have those things I don't have. Feel the backlash? I'm going to do the process so I can get in the vortex so I can have those things I don't have. You keep ending up where you are. But when you say, I'm going to go to the vortex because it feels so good in the vortex, there's less of the backlash that holds you where you are. You go for the feeling of it, not for the ulterior motive of being different than you are. You can get in the back door easily when you realize that everything you want is because you think you'll feel better having it. So if you can feel better just in the idea of it, then there's no resistance, and now it comes quickly. What happens to so many of you, you begin to discover that you wanted that and you wanted that and you wanted that because you wanted to feel good, and now you've got all of that, and now you don't feel good because you've got clutter. In time, you begin to discover that the only thing that fills the void is alignment with who you are. We're not trying to talk you out of your stuff. Stuff's fun. It's just not what you're reaching for. You're reaching for alignment. You're reaching for the feeling. We just want you to acknowledge that everything you want is because you think you will feel better when you have it. And when you get over the hurdle that you can feel better even if you don't have it, now you can have it. So that's what's really tricky. When Esther met Jerry, he had already come to the place that he didn't want a lot of stuff. Esther wanted stuff. And now she realizes that he had it figured out, but words don't teach. In other words, it's not stuff you want, it's comfort, it's clarity, it's alignment, it's exhilaration, it's passion, it's interest. What you really want is a passing parade of wonderful stuff through your life. That's what you really want. In and out, just like air. In and out, 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 in and out. That is the zest and thrill of life. That's the sweet zone right there. It's not the getting there, it's the going there.